Matthew, proprietor, owner, reviewer, everydayaudiophile.com, whatever the title is. It doesn't really matter. This isn't my normal place to record videos. Usually I'm upstairs in the media room. But that's not where most of my listening takes place. It's actually here in the living room with kids running around, with not an ideal listening place, with no room treatment, with the dog barking. And it when I think about listening rooms and where people listen to their music, I tend to think that this is probably the number one location, is a family room. Not everybody has a dedicated space that they can use for those kinds of things, movies, audio, etc. And it just, well, I wanted to make that the topic of today's video, in that, having that kind of audio space, this kind of living room, family room, whatever you want to call it, that's totally okay. In fact, when I first got into audio, this is where I had my speakers. And this is what made me love music, was just listening to the speakers in this kind of space. Yeah, it's not ideal. I got a wall over here that has reflections, fireplace and windows over there that have some reflections. So I have to deal with those issues, especially with these Riga RS7s, but still, it is, I love it. And my kids love it. They don't know any better. They just love that music's on. I mean, the music is, Disney music, but it's still music for them. Let's take a second to talk about this system. This is actually a pretty special system to me. Like I said, it's kind of the system that got me into music. Not all of the same components that I owned over a decade ago. I've kind of reacquired them over the years, but as the speakers are the Riga RS7s. I think this is the one that's in frame. And that was the first hi-fi speaker that I bought outside of, Klipsch or any of those. I know Klipsch is typically considered in that space, but if you're thinking not the major American manufacturers, these are the first ones. And the salesman did a great job, maxed out my credit card, and I had them for 7 or 8 years before selling them and moving on to Vandersteins, which I sometimes wish I had. I had a love-hate relationship with them. That's a topic for another video, perhaps. Driving those is the Riga Illicit Mark III, not the newest Mark, I think 5 is what they're on now, what they just announced. I'd really love to hear that someday. This wasn't the same amp that I had a decade ago. I actually had the Riga Mira 3, and I wanted to step up to the Riga Illicit or the Riga Cursa Exxon monoblock combination. That is something that I'm still hunting for. But the Riga Illicit here is just a lot of the same of that Riga Mira. It's just a little bit more punchy, a little bit more power. And I think it looks a piece. I think it looks great. I had a Riga DAC for a while. For a little bit, I was driving it with just my computer. Like I had a fancy sound card. I didn't get a turntable until maybe 6 years ago. And that's the same turntable that I have here. I'll scoot over. That's the Riga RP10. My wife probably won't let me buy a new one anytime soon. It has the Afida Mark I cartridge. And I'm using the Aria Mark I phono stage. So these are all components that I just have for a long time. I would love to get the Riga Aura or some other phono stage, but that's not the important part. The important part is sharing your music with other people. Being in the family room makes it easier to share with your significant other. It makes it easier to share with your kids and get them interested in music. I played the double bass or stand-up bass, contrabass, whatever you want to call it. I played that growing up, and I want my kids to have that same kind of passion. I want them to pick an instrument, whether it's guitar, piano, anything. And I want them to just enjoy music. I think there's so much to be had for that. But that's probably another conversation. I could talk about that for a while. Circling back to the system in the main living space, I think it's great that people, these definitely aren't looking at the speakers. They're definitely not the most lookers of speakers that you can have. They're not white gloss. I personally prefer a wood finish. They're not the most highest performing gear, as in how it measures. I can say, this Regalisic came out in 2008 or 2009, so it's well over a decade old. It's not going to be the strongest measuring piece of equipment, but you know what it does do? It makes music, and I love it. I guess there wasn't really any other point to this video. It's going to go up anyways. Just if you got a system, just know that it doesn't have to be in a dedicated space for you to enjoy it. There are things you can do, like putting down a carpet, having furniture in your room, which I think most people do. And even there's some room treatment things that you can put up on the wall that isn't just a piece of fabric with some fiberglass behind it. You can get ones that have artwork on them, or that kind of blend in a little bit more. That's something that I would like to do behind these speakers someday. But this isn't my space. This is my family's space, and all of those changes are pending review by my chief, not financial officer, my better half. That's all I had for today. I just wanted to share this main system. Like I said, this is where I do most of my listening. When I'm reviewing gear, sure, I'll go upstairs and I will critically listen for a few hours, a few weeks. Really depends on what I'm listening to. But most of my thoughts on how something sounds is going to be from this couch, which is right behind the camera. This isn't even the normal camera that I use. It's just my phone. I'm hoping to do more videos down here. It feels a little bit more personal, a little bit less professional, and I think that's okay, but there we are. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day or weekend whenever you happen to watch this. I'll talk to you all later.